Hi there, it's Elaine Lindsay with Business Banter Plus, and I'm really happy to be here today with Stacey Myers. Welcome, Stacey. Wonderful to have
Hi,
you
Elaine.
on the show. Good to have you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Stacey's over in England, but for those of you who are quick on the accent, you'll realize that she's in fact Australian. I'm correct, all right? That's right? You're
Yep,
Australian?
that's correct. I am indeed.
Good stuff. Just wanted to make sure I had that right. So I want to talk to you, Stacey. I want to know what makes you passionate about what you do. And I have to tell you, I love your comment to me early on when we spoke about freedom and ease. Can you give us a little bit more?
Sure, I can. So, my kind of thing for everybody is to have ease and freedom in all areas of their lives. And so, because I know, and even for myself, like we have these times in life where they're so horrible, and you think that you're never ever going to be able to crawl out of whatever it's that you are in. And so, and I know like how horrible a place that can be. And so, I'm really committed that other people do not have to go through those kinds of feelings. And I know it's a natural thing in life to have happen, but it's my mission, if you want to call it, to give people the tools and strategies to be able to have life be another way. And that's incorporated in what I do in my business. And what I do is I work with solopreneurs who are looking to gain expertise in their area of business. And that could, and mostly that takes the form of them writing a book that teaches people how to do what they have already established in their businesses to do. So I am a trained life coach, and that was something that I did when I first started online. And how I actually came to be online was because someone said, "Oh, if you're a life coach, you need to have an online presence." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I came on, and I didn't even have a Facebook page. I didn't use it to chat with my friends or any of those kinds of things. So it was a massive learning curve. And I had a couple of clients doing live coaching, and then people were saying to me, "Oh, what are you doing with your website? What are you doing on social media?" So then I moved to helping people getting themselves set up online. And then the author thing, I love books. I have consumed books ever since I was a child. Magazines, I used to read the cereal box. I used anything that I could read, I would read it. So it's just really natural for me to work with authors. And like I said, I'm a life coach, and I could easily coach people to have ease and freedom in their areas of life. But what I want to do is find the people out there that know what they're doing in their particular area, and help them to find their voice, to get their visibility, to get their voice out into the world so that they can then help people in that their area of expertise.
Ah, that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I know from speaking with you that you've actually worked with some really incredible people, like Peggy McCall.
Yes, we did. Peggy was my first ever mentor. And so I worked with her when I first came online. And I think the program was 6 months then, and I met some amazing people in that course. And then from there, I went on to work with her and Bob Proctor, Mary Morrissey, and Gay Hendricks. They all put together a program called Making a Million Look Small. So I started off doing the community management for them, and then moved on to helping them with their social media. And I even flew over to LA to spend the weekend with everybody at a special Making a Million Look Small event. So it was
Wow.
really great. Yeah. And those of you that don't know Peggy, she's a book lady, and she helps not so much now. She helps people get set up online more, but she's known for being the bestseller maker and helping people have their books become New York Times and Amazon bestsellers. So I learned loads from her about how to market books and how to have people be Amazon bestsellers. And then thankfully through her, then she introduced me to another company I was working with where we used to do the Amazon bestseller campaigns for the authors. So they would come to us with their book and they would do all of the mail outs and invite people in, and I would help them with the social media component of that.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, that's quite the baptism, since it seems like you began it all at once, and you seem to be the type of person, go big or go home.
Yes, exactly. And it has been a journey, but it's been so much fun. And the excitement that authors have when their book is finished and they get it out there and people are actually reading it and taking their programs and learning from them, it's just such a wonderful thing to have happen.
I can feel it in your voice. I can see it on your face, the passion that you have for what you do, and I think that's absolutely amazing. I really, really love that. And I know that you've also done work with Mari Smith.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Mari is wonderful. And it was, of course, through Mari that I met the lovely Elaine.
That's right. That's how we met, through our mentor group, for sure.
Yeah, so we were both doing some private mentoring with Mari, and what was really great for me, and an opportunity that came out of that was Mari took me on to be the moderator in her Inner Circle Facebook group. So I had the pleasure of actually working with her and then being able to work with all of the wonderful people that she attracts to herself. So there's been some great people that I've met in there, and then lots of little projects and other things coming off the communities that you meet through being in these online courses.
Absolutely, absolutely. And part of how you and I got together was my mad love for Google Plus, and me passing that on to all of our friends in Mari's circle as well. But on that note, I know that you, like myself, in social media, you use all of the top social sites and platforms that are out there. And do you have something to share with small business and the authors that you deal with on the need? I know people seem to feel sometimes that they need to have something everywhere. What's your feeling about that? And I know that Twitter's a big love for you.
Yeah, Twitter is my favorite. Yeah, I think the most important thing is how early on that you start building your platform. Because what I see happens to a lot of authors, and it breaks my heart, is they spend all this time writing their book, and then right up until the end, they lift their little heads up and their book is finished, and then they've got no one to sell their book to. Or they haven't taken the time to. One of the big things that I talk to people about is what is the actual purpose of your book? Because what you want to achieve from your book is really going to inform how you put your book together. So if you're just writing it for a cathartic experience of something that's happened in your life, you're going to write it in a completely different way than if you're using your book because you want to be a speaker, or you want to use your book to promote your programs, if you want to use your book to be a lead generator. So the important thing is having some forethought in your book before you actually start writing. Because I see it all the time, and people get to the end and they've got all these amazing ideas, and they almost just do like a brain dump into their book, and there's no, like, it's, of course it's structured out, but it's not ideally structured if they want to then use that to introduce people to working with them one-to-one or the programs that they want to do. So early thinking is a must, and the same comes down for an author platform or your online presence, if you want to call it that, and having a look at, well, who is it that I want to read my book? And it's also not about just who my readers are and who's going to buy my book. It's having a look at all, like, who you want to align with strategically who's going to help you launch your book at the time. So if I'm writing a book about dog walking, then I'm going to be wanting to look for people in my field that also have people that have something to do with dog walking. And then people all of a sudden go, oh, but aren't they my competition? Well, no, they're not, because you want to have a look at people that have a similar thing to you. So, for instance, if you do dog walking, you may want to reach out to someone that does dog obedience or something like that, where
Absolutely.
it's their people would be your people, and start to build relationships with those people as early on as possible. And what kinds of things can you do to do that? Well, the best thing is to find out where they're at. So if that dog obedience school people, they have a website and they blog, comment on their blog is a great thing. Promote them out on Twitter or social media. And so you become known to them. And if you're looking for one of the bigger names in your field to either endorse your book or to help you launch your book, they get so many people contact them every day going, oh, I'm Bob and my book is fantastic, can you help me launch it? But if you've started to build a relationship with these people, even if like virtually and from a distance, when eventually it's time for you to start to look for people to help you launch a book, if you reach out to those people, they'll go, oh, Bob, I know Bob. Bob's been sharing my stuff.
Right.
Bob's been commenting on my things. Of course I'm going to help Bob out. Look at all the great stuff he's done for me. And it doesn't need to be like, you don't have to go over the top with what you do for them, but just kind of start to have a look at who are the people. And if you have to think about things like having people review your books, people, if they have a podcast show or a Google Hangout such as yourself, and various other places and things that people can do to help you promote your book, then they're the people that you want to target. So don't forget about them. They're actually almost a more important part of what you want to look at doing than actually looking at your readers.
Yeah, absolutely. That you hit the nail on the head, and I know that especially in publishing, with the advent of digital media, everything has been turned on its head, and it is so much easier to follow and to circle and to look at the people that are influential in your niche, that it really is the ideal, for me, I think it's the ideal area for small business and people to be publishing online. You have everything at your disposal much easier than you ever did before. You know, for you and I, Amari Smith, it would, if we weren't online, it certainly wouldn't be that easy to connect with her, or a Guy Kawasaki, or Peggy McCall even. And Peggy McCall lives in my city. Not without the digital age, we wouldn't have had the ease of access and the ability to show people who we are, because I think that's an important part of getting them to endorse you or your book, is by sharing and commenting and aligning yourself with influencers in your niche. You let them see who you are, and that's why they'll want to help you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't, and sometimes when people start out, they think, oh, well, it was really easy for them because look at them, they've got 40,000 people on Twitter, or, oh, they've got all these people on Google+. But we all started with zero. Everyone started with zero.
Right.
And so all of those people did whatever they needed to do to get where they are now. And most of them don't forget what it's like to be just first starting out. And it's not always about having a swap of, well, I'll give for you, you give for me. It's sometimes just about helping another person out. And I've noticed that a lot of people, and even some of the bigger names that you think are kind of untouchable or whatever, so to speak, then you can more and more now just reach out to those people. And this is partly why I love Twitter, because there are less gatekeepers in Twitter. If I wanted to get to a CEO of a company and I called up the secretary and said, oh, hey, I want to speak with John Smith. I've got this book. I think he'd really like it. She'll go, ha, 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 yeah, get on the list.
Yeah.
Whereas I can catch him on Twitter, and all I need to do is start interacting with him, reaching out to him, and even a lot of people have other people manage their social media for them.
Yes.
But I know for myself, if I have someone that reaches out a couple of times to one of my clients, I pass it straight on to them.
Absolutely.
So even though there may be like a little gatekeeper in Twitter, they're much more likely and faster to pass that on. And the other thing is, you would be very surprised, or not, who knows, at the number of the higher level CEOs or business owners or more influential people that are actually doing their own Twitter much more than they're doing their own Facebook.
Not just Twitter, Google Plus. And the beauty there, the tie-in is, like Twitter, Google Plus is also asymmetric. So we can circle whomever we wish, and it's really thrilling when someone incredible comments back on something you've done.
Yeah.
And whether or not you were going for anything, I know the first time I had a response and spoke with Robert Scoble, I was blown away. It was so exciting. But he had put out something that was very near and dear to my heart. There was no business involved, but having that asynchronous setup, it was absolutely easy to be able to circle people and get to know what's really going on, not just in my niche, but in the niches of my clients as well.
Yes, exactly. And I am becoming, although I've been on Google Plus, as you know, Elaine, I'm getting a little more into it as we go along. But it's so great. And coming back to what your original question was, like about half an hour ago,
yeah,
should people be on all the platforms?
Yes.
This is part of the thing, that if people start early, you can actually be on all the platforms, and you don't have to be doing loads of stuff on all of them. If you have like a couple of tweets a day go out, and some people do or don't agree with this, but and it's something I'm actually having a look at myself at the moment, is I have my Facebook connected to my Twitter. So if I post something on my Facebook, it goes out to my Twitter. Please, please don't ever do it the other way around.
Yeah.
Do not connect your Twitter to your Facebook account, because all that happens is you get all these little tweets there with this little bird, and the platforms the other direction just do not work. So please don't do that, and stop it if you already are.
Yeah.
And but I'm also having a look at, because we will catch different people on the different platforms. So who you'll catch on Google Plus, who may never turn up on Pinterest, and who turns up at your blog may never ever read your email. And so if you can get out onto all of the platforms, even with a minimal presence, you still have the opportunity to be reaching out to those people. And so if you've written your book and you get to the end of your book and you pop your little head up and then go, wow, I have to do all this social media now, and then it's just complete overwhelm, which is the opposite of my ease and freedom everywhere. And it is complete overwhelm for people, because it's such a learning curve. It's so horrible. It's a horrible place to be in, when you know that not only you either have to learn this stuff really quickly, or you need to pay someone to do it. And because I'm a bit of a control freak as well, even if I outsource things to people, I want to know that I know how to do them. Yes. So you want to have a bit of a basic knowledge before you're handing over your online presence for someone else to take care of. So you can at least keep an eye on what they're up to and if they're actually doing a good job. Because the other thing I see quite often is companies who have the social media people who aren't doing a very good job, but because the people in the company don't have a clue, then they're not getting the benefit. Then they go, oh, social media isn't any good. We're not getting any return on our investment.
Right.
But if they'd had some basic knowledge about how any of the platforms work, they can also support the person that's doing the social media for them. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and then while I'm on that topic as well, the other thing is you have to show up. Like, especially as a business owner looking for visibility, you have to show up. Even if you outsource your entire social media, you at some point need to show up. And it's so important that right now I don't take clients on if they're not prepared to show up. And I mean 15 minutes 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And if you can't give up 45 minutes a week to build your online presence, then you need to kind of reassess whether this is actually an area of marketing that you want to take on. And I know it can be really scary. And one of the things I do with my clients is I sit on Skype with them and we screen share and I say, go here, say this, do that. This is how this works, how that works. So in that 15 minutes, they're actually really productive and they're learning as they go. And I'm noticing, like a month or two down the track, they're happily popping on, like when they've got a minute here, a minute there. And the difference, there's something about that actual person showing up and the flow and the interaction on the page, it just has a different feel to it than if it's just been completely managed by a social media person.
Absolutely, and I have to say there, not only can you Skype, you can use Hangouts for the very same thing, and you have the bonus of all the apps you can use in here in the Hangouts. I'm working hard to get Stacey much more on board with Google+, just in case nobody saw that. Oops. I'm always standing on my soapbox. It's just who I am.
And it's great because, Elaine and I did a hangout about last week or even just a couple of days ago. And I was like, wow, we can share documents and I can share my screen and they've got all these great effects. And so definitely, I will be doing more hangouts.
Oh, yeah. The possibilities are endless within the Hangouts and really good for your clients. But one thing I wanted to say, I was in a Hangout yesterday with Guy Kawasaki, and he was saying, for authors, bringing forth a book is like giving birth. So having said that, this is your baby. You're better off to start ahead of the curve and really plan out where you want to market your baby so that it's getting the best care it can get. And that's probably, I think, the first and really most important takeaway. If you've just thought of writing a book, or if you realize in your niche or people are telling you to write a book, or you want to start doing webinars or whatever, then you really have to put your feet in the fire and make sure that you put that plan in place so that you are interacting, so that you're building a following in the places that are most important to your niche.
Yeah, exactly. And so and then it does come down to having, because I do think if possible people would have some kind of presence in places, but there's also places that you're going to be more active, because if you're writing a book on interior design, like, you're going to get the business owner that wants to have their business redesigned. You may meet them in LinkedIn, but those gorgeous pictures of what you can do in the interiors that you've done are going to be magic on Pinterest.
Absolutely.
And then even having those images on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Google Plus.
And of course Google Plus. I was definitely coming into that one. Was not going to fall into that trap again.
I'm awful. I'm awful. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's a lot of times when you're discussing with clients, it's making sure that they understand the depth and the breadth of their niche. Because there's a lot of times where clients don't realize that, like LinkedIn, for instance, it's a great place for clients to go, clients who say not book specifically, but for retail. That's a great place to connect with your suppliers and make sure that you have everything that ties to your business that you can connect to. It makes your retail life an awful lot easier. I have clients who, a year ago were kicking and screaming and said, oh my God, I don't think I have time for this. And like you, I say, 15 minutes, a couple of times a week, this is what you need to do. And now, a year later, too, for some, they're saying, oh my God, we have such a good rapport now with our suppliers, and we know what's coming down the pipe. We know where we need to go. We have a much better streaming, and it's paying off for our customers.
Yes, exactly. It is. And I think, and this, you've raised a really great point as well, is about it doesn't happen overnight.
Yes.
So building relationships and getting used to the platforms and all of those things doesn't happen overnight. And most people don't write a book in 3 days.
No.
And so if you're going to be taking at least a good few months to be writing a book. So if you can set aside a little bit of time every week. Now, I'm mostly speaking here to non-fiction authors, because fiction marketing is a whole other ball game.
Yeah.
But for non-fiction authors, there's no reason that you can't take some time to be out on social media. And the other thing is, if you're writing a book in your niche, you should be blogging. And so a lot of people use the content that they've been blogging as part of their book. And so you're actually doing yourself a favor by blogging, building your community, and it also gives you the content to put out onto the other social media sites. So it all works in together to make it all kind of a cohesive plan. And the other great thing, if you're inviting people into your world while you're writing your book, they get very excited about what you're up to. And you can give people like little sneak peeks into a chapter here or a chapter there, and it's a great way to get people on your list. And so you can then be building more relationships with them. You can let them know when your book is coming out, and people do really start to take part in what you're up to. And then by the time your book comes out, because they've been on your journey with you over the year or however long it takes you to write your book, they're very excited to buy the book and very excited to tell all their mates about it. Oh, I've been following this guy and he's writing this book and I think it's great and you'll love it. And people, for me, there are so many, sadly, people online that just are not genuine. And so you get to build that relationship with the people who then, and it's the clients and the people that we already have are the people that are most vocal about how amazing we are.
Yes.
So we can never have too many of those people. And with your blog and you're interacting on social media, this is how you're going to build that wonderful community of people who love what you're up to.
And there's that extra bonus I find too. We all have our down moments, our down days. Having people who are supporting you in what you're doing online gives you that little extra oomph on those tough days, because you can reach out to the people who read your blog, or you can reach out to the people on Google Plus, of course I said it, or Twitter, or Facebook, or LinkedIn. LinkedIn maybe not so much, but you can reach out and say, I'm having a really tough day today. I've got a word block, or I just can't get past it. There's always somebody in your friends and people around you in your business community that offer hope and help, which I think is wonderful. And there are, in my estimation, so many wonderful people out there that it's just, to me, every day getting online in social media is a joy.
Sure. Yeah, it is. And do you know, having those people also helps inform your book. because you just need to have a look at the questions that people are asking. What is it they want to know? What is it they get really excited about? Which of those blog posts do you just get loads of comments? Like, then you can see, well, this is the stuff that needs to go in my book. Or maybe people don't quite understand that. And have a look at what questions they're asking. And this is a non-fiction example, but a fiction example. But I've seen someone do really well on their Facebook page saying, oh, we're coming to like a crossroad here. Should we kill off this character, or should we put them into a romance? And like, they get all these comments about, oh yeah, kill him off, or no, like, give him a girlfriend. So it's but we can do the same thing with our non-fiction books. And if we're running like teleseminars or webinars, or even like having little Q&A sections on our Facebook pages, then this is where we can really inform our book. And the more that we're obviously talking to what people want to know about, the more people that are going to want to purchase our book.
Absolutely, and that gives me a really great idea going forward with clients. You can have the client do a monthly hangout to update people and ask for more questions about where they should go next with the book. What else are people wanting to learn in your particular niche, whatever it is that you're writing about?
Exactly.
Ongoing support in your writing time, and it also, that extra boost sometimes from, a nice comment early in the morning, just other people saying good morning, can really give you a lift for the day.
Yeah, sure. And you know that with the hangout idea, a lot of people say survey your people, find out what it is they want to know. And I think, when I get surveys, I just go, oh, really? And then I either don't fill it out at all, I fill it out half-heartedly, and then I just send it back. And then, of course, when people send out these ones and say, oh, if you fill this out, you're going to go into a draw for such and such. So then more people fill it out, going tick, 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 on nothing in particular, just so they can get into the draw. So I'm not completely knocking surveys, but as you can tell, I don't think they're a hugely effective way to gather information. But if you're doing a hangout where you kind of sneakily find out what people want, what the questions they're asking, or the things they want to know, that for me is much more informative than if I send a survey out to my people.
Well, and not only that, when you're in the hangout, because you are seeing people and seeing their reactions, it's really easy to see when something doesn't go over well. Even
for sure.
Like, oh, that fell flat. It's a really good way to get that barometer, so you have an idea of really where you stand. So it definitely is something very great, not just for authors, but anybody in business. I swear there's an application that can help you get ahead in your social and in your online communities by pulling together. And Hangouts, to me, are one of those things that give you that, I say it's the next best thing to being there. So
yeah, sure.
That's a bonus for the authors out there, but anybody can really use it. Get a group of your customers together and see what it is they're looking for. What is it they need? What are they looking for at either this time of the season, or you're coming up on an event, such as now we're coming up on Christmas. For somebody back in September, October, for someone who was going to put out something specific maybe for Christmas, that would be a good time to do a couple of hangouts and get some feedback as to what would you like us to, what do you want to see us do?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because since I've been doing these hangouts and using a bit more video more on Skype, when I'm not actually looking at a person now, when I'm talking to them, I kind of go, oh, where are they? So I think there is definitely something different about being able to talk with someone, and you have to make that bit of extra effort, right?
Absolutely.
Because you can't just like crawl out of bed and say, we'll do Skype, no video. So there's also like a showing up that happens when you
Absolutely.
meet with people where they get to have a look at you.
And we all know that people who have home offices and people who tend to work more as solopreneurs, yeah, you can get into a rut where you aren't necessarily presenting the best face. Perhaps it's only the face you're presenting to the dog. Even still, you do feel better about yourself and what you're doing when you put on your face, so to speak. Very different for men. And it was really interesting from the beginning of Hangouts. Men would be in their backyard, they would be barbecuing, they would have on shorts and a t-shirt, the hair would be all over the place. Women, not so much. Women come in and they're much more likely to have spent some time at least getting what we call presentable.
Yes. Yeah.
And that pays off in spades as well, because when you're in your own office and you do make that effort every day to get up and get dressed and look like you're going out to work, it does give you a different demeanor than the days
Oh, yeah, yeah.
jammies.
Yeah, yeah.
Because yes, I'll
Yes,
admit there are
exactly.
days where we stay in the jammies.
Yes. So,
So,
do you have any other great questions for me?
oh well, I'm hoping they were great.
No,
I
they were.
Good, good. Well, the freedom and ease, I think you should have it as a big banner, because I think
Yes.
it's really important and something we've all lost sight of because we're all so busy, and our children are busy, and our everything in our lives just seems to go, go, go. And it isn't often about freedom or ease. So taking that little nugget and trying to apply it in one's life, I think will give everybody a little bonus this Christmas. On the heels of that, I'd like you to give us one takeaway that people can implement today in their business life or even their personal life, something you found has been really beneficial to you and allows you to continue to feel your passion.
Sure. I'm going to stick with the ease and freedom section. Now, one of the biggest things for me is about perspective. And it really is how we view the world is how it shows up for us.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, like we all have circumstances come up in our lives, and it's how we're going to deal with them that makes the difference. Because I can just say my car gets broken into. I can be all about, oh, why does this happen to me? These things always happen to me. This is so rubbish. And I can be caught down about that for a long time. Or I can just think, well, my car was broken into. Like, and removing all of this extra baggage that we put on things. So it's like the car was broken into. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean my life is never going to go the way I want it to. It doesn't mean any of those things. All that happened is the car was broken into. And then you can take the actions that are consistent with that. And to give you another example is if we go out on a date. So I can go out on a date with this lovely man and he says, oh, I've had a great time. I'll call you tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and he doesn't call. And then we sit there going, oh, what happened? Why? I shouldn't have worn that dress. What did I say? Did I laugh too loudly? All of these things, right? And we chew ourselves out about what you should or shouldn't have done. And you'll never know why they didn't call. They could have been hit by a truck, who knows? But it was the thing I'm trying to get across is all that happened is that person didn't call.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
if you can just really just get that piece, whenever something happens and you go, okay, well, I say it as what were the nuts and bolts of it?
Right.
What was the actual thing? If I take all of my own stuff off it, what is the actual thing that happened? And the other thing we do, I think, is we're so self-obsessed and self-absorbed. It's just a natural human way to be. And I know, some of you may or may not know, I was a primary school teacher, or an elementary school teacher for those of you in the US. And my deputy head, I was petrified of this woman, absolutely petrified of her. She was one of those ladies that was so fast. Like, she used to walk around quickly. She used to, like, and you'd say hello to her and she'd kind of like grunt at you and off she'd go. And I had it that she like hated me, that she thought I was a really bad teacher, and I would lead trainings and she would sit there and she'd be writing all these notes, and I was like, oh, she's writing how bad I am in my training and that I shouldn't be a teacher, and she's going to take all those notes to the head teacher and tell him how horrible I am. And like, this was what was consuming my thoughts all the time. And we never stopped for a minute to think, oh, she's probably writing her shopping list, or maybe her cat is sick and that's why she's like grunted at me this morning. But we get so obsessed, like that everything is about us, that we forget sometimes that the way people react to us is not really about us, it's about what's going on for them. And I remember when I'd been doing quite a bit of personal development around that time, and I got to see really clearly, like, all of that stuff is just all bits I made up about. Yeah. Who knows? She could have thought I was the best teacher in the school, but I just made up that she had it, that I was rubbish. And we were sharing a classroom one day, and I went into the classroom and she was sitting right at the door. And I walked in, and I don't even know who did what first, but like, I winked and she smiled, or she smiled and I winked. I don't know what happened, but I took about 4 steps and went, whoa, like, what was that? And
reframe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before, I didn't mention this bit. I was going in there because my handbag was in the cupboard. And historically, I would have not gone in. I would have waited until playtime. It wouldn't have mattered what I needed, because I was so petrified of how much she disliked me. And then when can see that, do you know what? It's all just stuff I made up. And then I could have conversations with her with ease and freedom, instead of having to rehearse everything I was going to say before I went to see her, so that I could give her some impression of me that I'd made up that she had in the first place. So we're crazy. Like, these silly little things that we do with our head, in our own heads, are what causes us the most problem. They're my little...
Go ahead.
So they're the things that I'd love for people to take away, is that have a think about, like, what have I made up? Because it doesn't, when 7 people witness a car crash, and they all witness a car crash, but they all have a different view, because we all have our own past experience that we view, that kind of our filter that we view all that through. So if we have a look at, like, which little bits have I made up, and what's the actual nuts and bolts of it, and if you can apply that to situations, like, I can tell you now, it will make a difference.
And that's so good, Stacey. And one thing I will say, I actually call that the stories that we build. Because we don't take any little kernel without building some elaborate story around it. And you hit it right on the head, because it's so true. We sometimes assume people don't like us. We assume people think we're not smart. We assume all these things because it's all wrapped up in these stories that we tell ourselves. And if you can cut through all that, and just, like you said, the nuts and bolts, just cut down to that kernel of what actually happened. I was thinking, as you were talking about the car being broken into, my attitude now is, well, they obviously needed something in my car more than I do. And that's rather than build a great big story about me, because it really isn't about me. And you hit that one so bang on. That was a really, really good takeaway. Thank you very much. This has been awesome, getting to speak to you and getting to see a little bit more into the ease and freedom. I now understand more about the passion you have and how it translates. And that, I think, is really, really important. What I'd like you, is there anyone in particular that you'd like to reach out to that you maybe haven't yet? Give us a shout out here. And tell people where they can get in touch with you. I know we have staceymyers.com, but please offer up your Twitter handle and anything else you'd like to leave people with.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at Stacey L. Myers, but on my website, if you go there at staceymyers.com, like Elaine already said, you can find links to all of my other platforms there. And Twitter is my favorite. And if you reach out to me on any of the platforms, I will get back to you. And so don't be shy. Do say hello and we can have a chat. If you have any questions or anything like that about what I talked about, anything really, come and visit.
This has been excellent. As I said, I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas and joy and abundance. And we'll see everybody on the next show. Thanks very much, Stacey.
No worries. See you later.